Hi guys, Jack here, bringing you a short tutorial on how to play Interplanetary Enhanced Edition. This is a great game to play with your friends or against the AI. The objective of the game is to destroy all of your opponent's cities on their planets while keeping your own planet and cities safe. To do this, there's a broad array of weaponry, defenses, and science and intel things to research. When you start the game, this is the screen that will greet you, provides an overview of the solar system. Your own planet is usually in blue and it can change positions, it's all randomly generated. Enemies have their own colored rings, and so that's where you know where to shoot. First thing you're going to want to do is research something, which you get in the tech tree here. In the tech tree, you'll find upgrades for things, weapon unlocks, defense unlocks, city projects, and building unlocks. First thing you're probably going to do in every game is research quantum computing, which gives you access to the Science Institute project, which if you build in your two largest cities will give you a big boost to science. The only time you might not want to do this if you're playing a smaller game and you really want to rush down someone and you want to go for some weapon upgrades or something like that. Once you've decided what you're going to be researching, the next thing you're going to want to do is some building on your planet to get your economy going. To do that, go to the top right, click on Build View, and this will zoom you to your planet. You can give it a scroll around, see what the random generation has given you. Also, good to notice in the top left, there's some statistics, your total population here, the amount of material left on your planet, the amount of material you have in storage, what you're producing for material just next to it, and your energy. You can also have a line of cities on the top here. You can click and it will instantly zoom you to your cities and show you how many people are in it. To start with, I usually like to build on my largest city, and that's because buildings that connect to a city and fill up these yellow connection things down here make the city grow quicker. First thing you're going to want to do is place a solar plant so your buildings have power, as if a building does not have power, it won't do anything. If I place the solar plant like this, you'll see it has a crane, which means it's being built. An existing building will have its icon, meaning that it's active. Right now, this solar plant isn't doing anything. If I want it to do something, I want to have it connecting to the city, which is now providing the city with power. An alternate way you can do that is just by dragging the building on top of an existing building, which will create that connection line. If you place the building too far away, you'll see this line goes red, which means it's not in close enough proximity and won't be able to be connected or have power. If I place a building like this mine for example, it will build, but it won't be able to do anything as it won't have a power source. Buildings can be connected directly to a solar plant or other energy creation buildings, and it will thus then have energy and be able to produce things. Alternately, energy flows through buildings or cities, so even though wrong building. So even though this mine isn't directly connected to the solar plant is connected to the city, which is then connected to the mine, which will provide the mine power and activate it. This is probably all you're going to want to do for your first turn. You could be tempted to build a railgun and start firing on people right away, but everyone else's planet looks like this, and the radius of an unupgraded railgun is about the size of a city, so you're probably not going to hit anything. It's going to be a waste of materials that could be better used for upgrading things. The only other thing to notice is if you don't want to build your buildings in a close ring around a city, you can also try and build them spread out in order to try and connect a solar plant to another city. So now next turn I might be able to build a mine here connecting to this solar plant, which skips the need to build another solar plant over here, thus maybe saving you materials. However, this can be harder to defend later game, so it's up to you. This saves you resources because it allows you to connect another mine at the end of that change to a second city, thus getting connections in multiple cities and improving your population growth at the cost of only one solar plant. Beyond that, you're just going to want to keep placing your buildings, ending your turn, and building up your economy, mineral, and energy production while waiting for research. Upgrades can be applied to buildings to generally make them better. If you're going for quantum computing, by turn 4 or 5, you'll have unlocked a couple upgrades for your mines. What I like to do then is apply them to these mines as they improve the efficiency of our buildings. If you click on a building, this screen will open up, which will allow you to connect it to other buildings to change how power is distributed, repair it if it gets damaged, duplicate it, or sell it. Here in the bottom left, you'll see there's 2 upgrade slots for a building. If you click on this, you'll be able to apply these 2 upgrades. Doing this will improve the amount of materials that goes into our material bank at the end of every turn, And the second upgrade here will reduce the amount of materials that it costs from our total planet material bank. One thing to notice is that these upgrades can be set to be default to any new buildings made. If you go over here and click, you can set the building upgrades. Thus, when you're placing a new building, it'll have these upgrades automatically enabled. And you can see if a building has upgrades by if these orange blocks are filled up. This solar plant has nothing. Mine has 2 upgrades, which are the ones we selected. Additionally, it's always good to do the energy upgrade for solar plants as well, because you're always going to need more energy. Additionally, you'll see here that we don't have enough materials to build another mine. However, if we wanted to, we could turn these upgrades off, which would then allow us to place a second mine. Also, as you can see, if you click on a building with upgrades and then click on the upgrade panel again, you're able to cancel an upgrade on that turn and get your materials back. Otherwise, the upgrade is permanent and cannot be removed. Once quantum computing has been researched, usually around turn 7 or 8, you probably want to apply it right away to your 2 largest cities. You'll see here my largest city, Sit, is making 126 science per turn. If I come here, clicking on the city, or clicking up here to bring me to my city, and again clicking on it, you'll open up the main page of the city, which will allow you to disconnect buildings to it or connect it, see your stats here, and also initiate city project. These city projects give you bonuses, and the one we're looking for is the Science Institute. So you'll see in core loot, I'm making 91 science turn. If I apply this, I'm making 137 per turn now as it rounds up, which is a pretty big increase. Once you've applied your city project, the next thing you're going to want to do for research, if you're going heavy science, is advanced signal processing. This gives you active radar scan, which gives you an additional 60% to your city for 3 turns when you click it. This will give you another huge boost, again, massively increasing how quickly you can research things. Another tactic you can go for is then to follow up with ultracapacitors, which give you the radar astronomy unit, giving you 20 science gain per turn to your telescope arrays, which you unlock in advanced signal processing. Telescope arrays can be used to give you intel. Intel is useful because it will give you information on what your opponents are doing. If I click on the intel screen right now with nothing built and I look at my enemies, I can see what their plant looks like, but I have no idea what they're actually building. And in order to find out what buildings they actually have, you need to build some telescope arrays once you've researched the prerequisite tech. You can go on the left side of your screen here and select under the Intel dropdown some telescope arrays and place them down. By default, they give you 8 Intel. That means we have a total of 24 Intel. The more Intel you have, which is represented by the little eye on the left side of the screen, the more buildings you'll be able to see. He has a counterintelligence modifier of 50%, which means that our 24 Intel is actually only worth 12. Obviously, the more Intel you have, the more buildings you'll be able to see. If you're finding that your cities and buildings are getting damaged and you're getting a little annoyed, you can go ahead and research some defensive technologies so you can stop that from happening. Maglev servos give you access to kinetic defense, which will block projectiles from railguns and coil cannons. Plasma channel induction will give you ion defense, which will stop missiles and MIRVs, which are an advanced type of missiles, from hitting your base. The only other type of defense you can build is ultrasonic projection, which gives you a shield defense, which helps block laser in addition to a very small amount from everything else. You place them the same way as any other building. They need power. So if a kinetic projectile lands anywhere in this yellow field, it will be blocked. In addition, if a city is completely covered by the yellow field, they'll get another additional boost to population growth, which is always good. One thing to keep in mind with ion defense is that the green shield needs to be completely covering the building you want to protect, because even if there's a small gap like this, a missile would still be able to target it and will still do full damage to it. As mentioned previous, intel is used in order for people to know where to aim their missiles, which have a secondary lock-on phase after you fire them. One way to prevent missiles from damaging your economy is building ionic defenses to directly block the missiles. A secondary way to do it is to build counter-intel buildings. These buildings, when placed, will reduce the amount of intel that is gathered by your opponent. This way you can keep the intel value your opponent has on your planet to a minimum, which will thus prevent them from locating a building in the first place. That means they won't even be able to lock onto them with a missile, preventing damage. With that, hopefully that is everything you need to know to get started in this game and start blasting away at your friends.